Hey folks, how you doing? So welcome to our new channel, Gearheads, and basically we're going to be talking about cars mainly, but it could also, branch out to motorcycles, old motorcycles and stuff like that because, I am a mechanic by trade and it's been always a dream of mine to be able to share my knowledge and also my experiences on stuff pertaining to cars. So I was looking through this website here. This is a local place here in Miami. These guys specialize in Trans Ams, and when I was growing up, that was like the car. I'm north of 60 years old, and that was the car to have. With all the hype of Smokey and the Bandit and all that other stuff. It was just it was a special time in my life at least. But I'm sure I'm not alone. Many folks my age or older, they're just this movie was it was a time in the life of many that it was about cars, speed, and all that other stuff. So anyway, let's dive in here. So I'm looking through this website. I look here a lot because for many reasons, Trans Ams, I love them and I've restored them, I've owned them. So I'm gonna talk about this car here because this is a unique story. This car that you're looking at here, it's gonna be like a sticker shock when you see what they're asking for this car. And I'm not saying it's worth that, I'm just saying this is what it is. It's a 79 Trans Am Y84. Y84 stands for Special Edition Car. It's a 4-speed car, and also the WS6, that was a suspension package. Those cars they came with a 4-wheel disc. It was all an option. And the W72, that's the engine. That's the 400 Pontiac motor. This year was the last year that they used the 400 Pontiac motor. And I just want to say, it's not bragging, but I had this car. Not this car, I had a car like that. They only made 1,107 of these cars in 1979. I bought this car, and I'll tell you the story. It's going to take a little bit, but it's such a interesting story. So back in the days of Craigslist, when Craigslist was very popular, I found an ad and I went to look at this car. The car was all apart. It was sitting in a circular driveway, no engine. You know, just you can basically, you'll see the pictures. The car was like in really bad shape. The guy wanted, I forgot how much, 1,500, 1,600 bucks for the car. And there was boxes and boxes of parts, the short block, the heads on one box, all over the place. I mean, it was just a puzzle. So I went ahead and I looked at the car. I opened the trunk. There was a lot of rust in there. These cars were known because of their T-tops to have leaks, and the leaks, obviously, then the floors, the floor pans, they rot, and the trunk, the same thing, they rot. And it was just, these cars were known, when they had the T-tops, they were known for being a rust bucket. So I went ahead and I worked out a deal with the guy. I I got a tow truck. I bought the car, took it home. But when the car was up in the air on the hook, I looked and I noticed this was a 4-speed car. I didn't even know at the time it was a 4-speed car because there was so many parts inside the car that it covered the whole area. So I went ahead and I looked at the car and I said, wow, this is a 4-speed car. But I didn't think about anything more than that's interesting. But then I looked at the rear differential and I noticed it had disc brakes in the back. So I'm thinking, that's an odd, option on this kind of car. So anyway, fast forward, I take the car home and I start looking at the VIN. Now, something interesting, it had a Z in the VIN number. And for any of you guys that are Trans Am enthusiasts, you'll know that, there's this company, Pontiac Historic Society. They basically have all the records for all these Pontiacs. So I took the VIN number and I went ahead and requested records, from the Record Society. Then I ordered the whole list of documents that has to do with this car and all kinds of stuff. So then weeks later, I get this package. And when I open the package, I didn't know anything about this car, mind you. I get this package, and when I open it, I'm like, oh my goodness, it's like hitting the lottery, because it turns out that this car was one out of 1107. So I was like super excited at this point. I'm thinking, wow, what am I going to do now? So look at the car here. This is the car that's for sale, but this is the same car that I bought, and you'll see how the restoration turned out. It took me 6 years to restore the car, and I'll tell you why. It turned out to be like, for some of you folks that are into cars and restoring cars, finding a decent body shop, somebody that's going to be doing the work, and you know very well that they always tell you it's going to be a couple of years, a couple of months, a couple of weeks, whatever they tell you, it's not going to turn out like that. It's usually not. So it turns out, as I went along, I started the whole, the hard metal, the cutting, the welding, all that stuff that had to do with initial restoration process. Getting the body in a way that's solid. You don't want to have a rot, in places that you're doing a restoration. You want it to come out good, especially in a car like this. So it turns out, and as I'm showing you these pictures now, mind you, this is a car that's very low mileage, and they're asking $199,000 for this car. I'm not sitting here and telling you that it's worth that. This is not about this car. This is about my story and a car similar to this. So this car here that I'm basically outlining, this same car, when you see my pictures of the car that I restored, it's going to seem like it's the same car, because it is. It's the same identical car as in 1107. They're known for that, being such a low production car. So then I basically started doing all the metal work. I started cutting and welding, doing a lot of work. A lot of work, took forever. So when I had the car all buttoned up, this car, the one that I'm talking about, the restoration car, I did a homemade, I fabricated a rotisserie in a double car garage. So I took the whole car apart, the frame, everything was apart. Every single bolt on that car I touched. I went ahead and had that car on a rotisserie. After like a year on the rotisserie and doing all the metal work, every single panel that had rot, I replaced. So I lowered the car, I put it back on the frame. The frame was all, coated. I did all the bushings were new, the lines, the brake lines, the fuel lines, all stainless steel. All the entire subframe was redone. I went ahead, laid the body, the fully, repaired body onto the chassis again, to the subframe. After doing that, I went ahead and I scheduled with a buddy that, let me just say, I thought was a buddy, that he said, I can take care of the body work and spray your car. The guy was out of Pompano, and I went ahead and I organized the transportation, and I put all the parts that I needed, for that portion of the restoration, minus obviously the engine, the transmission. It was just the body, a rolling chassis, basically a rolling car, not a rolling chassis, a rolling car. So I went ahead and I had this car shipped to Pompano. The guy was supposed to take 6 months to do the whole paint and body, and I was supposed to get the car back. And I was gonna, by then, I already had, in mind to get the differential done, the transmission done, put the engine together, and have everything ready. So when I get the car, it would all be, put together, and I was gonna be able to get this car restored. I was hoping in about a year and a half, 2 years max. Well, needless to say, the story didn't go like I planned. I went ahead and I took the car over, and months went by, and every time I would talk to the guy, the usual spiel of yeah, this and that, and I was sick for a week and this and that, all kinds of stories, all tall tales. So I went ahead and one day I'm like getting upset here, and I call the guy up, and he's got a huge attitude. And he tells me, "Hey, listen, I sold the body shop. You should come over and pick up this car because I can't guarantee it's going to be here if you don't come pick it up right away." And I said, "But what do you mean? And what happens with me and the car or the money I gave you?" He says, "Listen, I told you if you don't pick up the car, I'm not responsible." So I went ahead and I told the guy, "Hey, man, what am I going to do now then? I'm going to just lose all this money?" And he says, "Hey, that's all I got to say. If you want, come over. If not, I'm sorry, dude. That's all I got." So anyway, I went over there with my brother, and I rented a trailer, and I picked up the car. At this point, the car, he had done some work to the car, but it was still in primer. A lot of stuff was not aligned right, and it still needed a lot of work, you know. But for the most part, I said, "Hey, you know what? I'm gonna take one in the chin." So I picked up the car, I brought it over. By then, I had already arranged with another person that he was going to take the car and finish it for me. This is 14 months later now. So I'm working on, I had the car for a year. Then it went to Pompano, another 14 months. I brought the car back to Miami. I took it to this other guy's place. And then the car sat there. And when I say sat there, I mean it took that long, much longer later. I would say another 12 to 13 months, the guy had the car. Same scenario. I mean, he meant well, nice guy. I'm not gonna, beat up on this guy, but it took forever, and I was already like very impatient and very upset at this point. So anyway, I went ahead, took the car to him. When I finally got the car back, this is another year, let's just call it. The car's painted, but it's just a car that still needs total assembly. I'm talking about the frame with the tires, the wheels, and it's painted now. So I get the car back home, and my process starts. By then, I already had the engine, buttoned up. The transmission was buttoned up, the rear end, everything else was there. So I went ahead and started the whole process of, doing the mechanical, because I wanted to be able to move the car, running car around, because, I had to take it out from the garage, take it outside, work on it, put it back in. And, these cars are heavy. So I said, let me get the car running. At least I can move it around. So I went ahead and did all that. And then I took the car on a hook to the muffler shop nearby to get the exhaust done because it was very loud. Once I got the car running, I didn't have exhaust. So I had brand new exhaust, all done with the factory tips, everything nice and tidy. It came out real sharp, the exhaust work. So now I got the car running. I got the car, I'm able to move it around, and I start working on the interior. I do all the interior, the new carpet. I do the insulation on the car. I do all that. I button everything up inside. The dash, it had cracks in it, and I worked on the dash. I did the best I could. It came out sharp. I can't say it's, it was like the factory, the cover, the coating that they use. It's like a vinyl. It wasn't like that. This was basically, you work it like if it's like if you're working a panel. You use body filler, and then there's a process where you actually spray like a rubberized coating on it, and then once it dries, then you can shoot it with your interior dye, like a paint, but it's for interiors, for panels and upholstery and all that sort of stuff. So anyway, I did the dash. It came out real nice. There was another guy that the guy specializes in doing the bezel, the cluster, the bezel, and he does the factory bezel look. And that guy, I mean, he does really good work. So anyway, I went ahead and got the whole interior buttoned up. Now I'm looking at the car, and now I'm at that point where I had to sand and buff the paint, because I gave it some time for a good dry, to cure. So I went ahead and I said to myself, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and sand it now, and I did, the whole wet sand and buff and all what have you. After I did that, the most important part of the Trans Am, it's the decals and the eagle and all that other stuff. So I went ahead and started on that. I did the decals. At this point, now the car is looking like really nice. I had the brand new wheels. I had the new tires. Um, so I went ahead and once you put the tires and the wheels on, I mean, there's a transformation. Now the decals, it gives the car life. So at this point, I'm already almost there. So the final touches, what are the final touches? The tuning, getting that car just right. I had a little, difficulty with some things, and obviously sometimes they're just minor things, but you're already exhausted, you're tired, you're frustrated. I'm talking, this is north of 5 years with this car going from place to place. So the moral of the story is thousands of dollars later, many frustrating arguments and really, I could just say, like, some of these guys that did stuff uh, that I don't want to mention because this is not what this is about. This is about maybe when you're looking at a car that you want to restore, see what the cost is when the car is finished, and is it worth it? Me personally, it was not worth it. The money, the time, and the frustration, if you add that up, I think I would have been better off buying this $199 Pontiac that I was talking about here, because I just can't put it together in a short video because it's so frustrating. So right now, what I'm looking at is I went ahead and did this for one reason, and I'll tell you my personal story. The fact that I'm in my 60s and this is the kind of car that I reminisce about a lot, I wanted one thing that I could not buy, and that's I wanted the new car smell, but this car, because that's what it is. I want to smell that car like it's not just the feel, the look, it's the smell. So I said to myself, I want to be able to sit in that car and feel like if it's a brand new car. And I did that because all the cushions on this car were new cushions. All the material, the fabric, everything was brand new. The carpet was new, all the seals, all the weather stripping, everything was new. So when everything came together and the car was put together, it honestly, I could tell you that what I wanted, I was able to get, which was I acquired a car that was, back from 1979. And years later, I was able to sit on that car. The cushions were nice and tight, and the feel of the material, everything is new. So I remember I was like, I want to say I was 17, 16, 17 years old at the time when I drove my Trans Am. And I remember I couldn't duplicate that unless I restored the car like I did. Was it worth it? No, it wasn't worth it. No, I gotta say it was not worth it. But I set my mind, I put my mind to wanting that. That was my desire, and I did it. Not many folks, and I want to say that I'm a humble guy, and I'm just being honest. I'll usually finish what I start, especially projects. So when I got this car and I looked at the calendar, had I known at the time it was going to take me 6 years, no, I would have not done it. I would have probably sold the car. I would have done the document search, like, the PHS documents, the Pontiac Historic Society documents. I would have gotten that. And once I knew at the time it was a special edition car, it was actually a special order car, I would have just sold it, and made a few thousand and let it go. But that wasn't the purpose. It was a hobby at the time, and it was the desire of wanting that new car smell, but in an old car that I grew up with. So now, closing up on the story, my personal story, these cars are very expensive. They've gone up in pricing, like prices like I've never thought. So I personally sold the car in the 30s. I'm not going to sit here and lie. At the time, they weren't like this expensive. This was like post Burt Reynolds dying, it was almost like, it was like lighting you know, like a firecracker. It just, they blew up. Everything blew up with pricing on these Pontiacs. They weren't expensive, you know, back then. They weren't expensive years before I bought the one that I restored. But for some reason, I don't know, they just took off. And had I known this, I would have held on to that Trans Am and probably made, you know, thousands of dollars more in profit. But that's what it was, you know. This is, I could say this about anything, real estate, everything. So anyway, I feel that these cars are they're very nice. They're not fast by no means compared to what we have today. Right now, my wife and I, we own a four-cylinder Mustang that has 315 horsepower. It does 30 miles to the gallon in the highway, and it's got like 350 foot-pounds of torque. This car here, back in 1979, was 220 horsepower on a 6.6 liter V8. So, I mean, come on, there's no comparison. I mean, right now it's like, it's just what it is, and nobody's going to buy a Pontiac Trans Am from 1979 because they're going to be racing around, and because probably a Honda Civic will probably embarrass you out there. But that's not what this is about. This is about, you know, you're raised around a certain culture. If you're a car guy like myself, I'm a gearhead. This is what, you know, I wanted. I wanted this at the time. Would I do this again? Never again. I would never do this again. So this channel talks about things like that. I'm going to share a lot of the stories that I have pertaining to car restoration, purchases that I've done, and some of them that I regret. And we're going to cover all kinds of stuff pertaining to this channel. Because right now, if anybody's out there and they're car guys and they're gearheads like myself, you're going to come back and say, wow, yeah, I remember that happened to me, and yeah, and this and that. Or you're the kind of guy that's thinking of doing a project and you're going to think twice. And, you know, open up any comments. I'll do my best to answer them, and I'll always be honest and transparent. I'm one that, you know, I have nothing to prove. I'm an older guy now, so I've gone through a lot with cars, and the fact that, you know, I'm a certified, was certified, because all those ASC's certificates have expired many years. So, but I was certified, you know, in many areas of automotive and truck. I'm also I'm a car enthusiast overall, and I love cars and anything that has to do with cars. So I'll always be honest in this channel. And there's this channel also is going to cover other people that have cars, and, you know, I'll be going to car shows and just cover everything that has to do with car stuff. And I hope, you know, you guys like the videos and everything that has to do with cars. And I look forward to making many of these videos and sharing it with you guys. And please feel free to like and subscribe and share this channel. Thank you so much, and God bless. Okay, go ahead, bro. It's the last video for this car.